Hey, I'm Krystal, and this is Alex, and this is our fur baby Dexter. Together, we bought a Tanzer 26 and are currently sailing on Lake Ontario. We are complete beginners with no previous experience. Subscribe and join us as we learn how to sail and fix up our boat. What's going on?
Just chilling out, doing a close haul with just the main, getting out of this bay with my sweet tiller extension. Mentioned it before, but if you don't got one of these, it's a must. Absolute must. Dexter's happy to be sailing again.
Hey, dudes.
Come see Daddy. What's going on, bud? What's going on? We sailing?
We've got it's a good wind. It's supposed to be a really chill day. We're just with the mainsail right now. I've just set up the new camera and tripod and trying things
New
out,
to us.
see how it works. Yeah, new. It's not really new anyways, but
It's like 10 years old. 12, I think.
but it's all we can afford right now, so we've got the GoPro and this. We're not really sure exactly where we're going today. We might try to head towards downtown Kingston, or we might try to go on the other side of Amherst Island, which we've never done before. The wind's coming in from the south, so it'll be pretty easy sailing to kind of get anywhere today, and it's not too gusty. So if we wanted to throw down like a day anchor to have some lunch, we can do that. All right, we've thrown up the Genoa. We're doing close haul. We never ever really do close haul, so we're gonna tack soon. We're heading straight towards this island, then we're gonna tack towards Kingston. Okay, so today was not the greatest of sail days. We got out in the water and we went towards Kingston. Like I said, it's all open Lake Ontario when you get out that way, and we don't really sail out that way that often. And my nerves kind of got the better of me. We were going really fast and the waves were hitting us on the side just because it was coming in from the south. So we just decided to call it a day and come back to the marina. As we were kind of coming back in, we turned the motor on. I was up taking the sails down and Alex was back by the motor, and he noticed that it sounded a little bit funny, so he looked back at our exhaust and there was no water coming out of it. The water is basically like the coolant for your engine. Alex came down to check out the motor and it was like overheated. We were kind of like drifting around.
Starting to overheat.
Yeah, so basically we were drifting around in the bay, and I'll let Alex explain the rest here.
As soon as I turned on the engine, like, it's always a good habit. You kind of want to listen and know like what your engine sounds like when it's performing well and everything. And I thought it sounded a little bit weird right off the bat. And so initially I thought it was maybe, you know, weeds on the prop or something. So I threw it in reverse a little bit and then threw it in forwards, and it was still making some noise. So that's when I looked behind, and that's when I noticed like there was pretty much no water coming out at all. And I quickly felt the hose to see if it was cold or hot. This is our intake for the water, and so I was holding it to see if it felt cold. It should always feel, you know, at least the temperature of the water that you're in, so normally cold, and it felt a touch warm, so that right away let me know that there wasn't water circulating through our engine, which makes sense because it wasn't pumping to the back end. So then we shut it off. Your seacock valve off first, like make sure it's off, and then I detached this hose, and I wanted to find out if my problem was this was clogged up and water wasn't coming in, or if somehow some sort of sediment got into my engine somewhere and was clogging it up that way. So I detached it. I slowly opened up the valve to see if water would come rushing out, which it did. So that right off the bat let me know that there was no problem with the valve. Water was still coming in. It had to be somewhere through here. So then I took this hose and I drained all the water out of it to try to back flush it to get all the water that was in the engine to come out through that hose. And while doing that, I turned these belts, which basically just turns the engine over a little bit, and the water was hot, which was also a bad sign. Once that was done, wiped off the end of it, and I basically put my mouth on it and just tried to blow as hard as I could to try to, you know, get anything out. And I did that a few times. I also pumped some other hoses, just hand pumping and stuff like that, just to create a little bit of pressure in there to move things around or hope and loosen anything up. Like I said, this was also just a really fast fix. So that's
we were in the bay, we were floating around.
Yeah, and I needed to fix it so we could get in. I could do the other stuff later. So I did all that and then started the engine back up, and I felt to see if there was cold water now coming through the pipe from the intake, which there was. So that let me know that at least water was flowing up to here again, which was awesome. And I just started up on idling to see if water was coming out. Water started spitting out a little bit with some also white smoke that was, you know, built up from beforehand from it overheating a little bit. And then once the smoke kind of dissipated, I raised the RPMs a little bit and everything looked good, and I monitored it for the first couple minutes, and whatever I did must have taken the little piece of sediment or whatever that was stuck and cleaned it out or got rid of it and allowed us to get back into the bay. That was a really quick fix I did. If you're ever out there, check your seacock intake and try to clean that out the best you can and pump it and blow air in it, whatever you got to do. And that worked for me, and hopefully it works for you.
Another thing to note as well is just the fact that normally we always check our outtake. We always check to make sure like the water looks good, but we've been really happy with our motor this year and everything's been going well, so we haven't been looking at it as often. So luckily Alex was able to hear it, but one of those things is when you start up your motor, I guess you should just always check it just in case, because like had Alex not noticed that the sound was a bit different, like we could have just really screwed our motor up. So
yeah, I do normally always check it. It's just a really good habit getting into just always look at it when you first start it up, and then for sure definitely know the way that your engine is supposed to sound when it's running healthy. And if anything changes at all, like it sounds a little bit different than what you're normally expecting, investigate and figure out why that is. Your engine will generally tell you what's going on just by listening to it.
Unfortunately, I didn't get really any of that on video. It's been kind of a little bit of an emotional day, so we weren't really recording anything. Kind of kicking myself now because it would have been nice to at least kind of show you guys what was going on and what we did, but oh well, there's always next time. Hey guys, we're just doing a little maintenance on our engine, as you know, but we were having problems with the water intake the last time we went out. Before we take it out again, we wanted to actually go through and make sure that there wasn't anything else kind of in any of the piping or just anything else going on. What are you doing, Alex?
So all I've done so far is, this is the intake for our water. So I've taken that off. I did that whenever we had the problem in the bay, but I'm just checking it again, making sure there's no issues there, that we have really good flow. I took the intake pipe that goes to our water pump off and made sure, you know, it was good and clean and rinsed all out. Krystal did that for me while I was finishing up the rest of the stuff. And now I'm just detaching the belt for the water pump, and then you're just going to take these two screws or bolts out here, and that'll come right off, and then I'll show you, you get access to the actual impeller on the back of it. I did check the intake here to see if there was any stuff built up in this hosing, because I don't really want to take all of this hosing out. It's kind of a big job, and I didn't find any remnants of anything, so I think that is all going to stay. And then once I'm done that job, then I can finally move over to our, if you guys don't have a manual for your specific engine, I would highly recommend it, unless you are just a seasoned mechanic and just the best of the best and have seen it all. But it basically gives you views of everything that you're looking at, and different views, you know, port views, starboard views, rear views, bow views, and it just reassures you that what you're doing is actually right, and kind of look for it. So right here, I couldn't really remember exactly where the cooling water drain cock was, so I referred back to this. It lets me know right where it is, so I can take that out. I'm excited. I can't calm down. This is big stuff. You're talking really fast. Gotta get the engine fixed. We'll freaking be sailing again.
Oh my.
But yeah, so I'm checking the cooling water drain cock to make sure that there's nothing in there, because basically it's a little spot where like all of your little sediment and everything will fill up to kind of stop going in your engine. So I'll take that out, drain it all out, check the impeller, drain that all out, make sure all the hoses are good and everything.
We're talking so fast you can't even say the words properly anymore.
And if all that is good, the viewers will just slowly pick on.
Alright.
It's kind of a weird bolt design.
Why?
It kind of goes to a fine thread to a coarse thread, and like two different types of coarse thread, because there's also like a difference between like how big the gap is between your coarse thread to fine thread, and it's kind of got like a really fine thread to a really coarse thread to a semi-coarse thread, which is interesting. There's got to be a reason for it. I don't exactly know why.
What's that for? Are you just taking out the belts?
This is the for the water pump. So the belt was attached to this pulley here or whatever, and that's used for increasing or decreasing tension on your belt. So I'm taking this off because it'll let me get to the impeller behind it.
And why do you have to check the impeller?
That's where we're most likely, like, basically the two spots that you're most likely to get like sediment buildup and stuff is right where the water comes into your impeller, or if it makes it past that, it'll come over here to get to like your cooling water drain cock, and all that is like kind of like a lower spot in your engine where like sediment and like sand and little stuff like that will kind of all fall into there. And it's all preventative stuff to stop it from going to your engine seals and everything like that. So there we go.
Some water coming.
You can see an idea of how much soot diesel engines pump off. Old ones anyway. I'm sure brand new ones don't look like that, but if you got a really old one. Yeah, now that this water pump is lower than the rest of the engine, just a lot of water comes out. So just be cautious of that. Okay, now this is just a Phillips screwdriver. Oh yeah, we did take it off. There it is. So there is the impeller. Looks fine. And this is actually really clean too, which is awesome.
It does look clean. The last time we took this apart, there was a lot of debris in it. What about all the soot that's on the...
Oh, that's just from the engine.
Oh.
That's just like a lot of older diesels, because they're not sealed up tight like a brand new diesel would be. A lot of the seals and gaskets and everything are older, so they leak like a little bit. So this probably has like, well, not probably, obviously has a little bit of, you know, exhaust and stuff like that that leaks out from it, and basically creates soot, which is like little particles that get into the air and then fall down and land, and they're black because it's from like the exhaust and burnt up diesel. So that's very normal for the older engines.
So what's this? Leaking some water.
Alright, that might be it. I did feel a bunch of grime come out of there. Well, you can see it all over my hand, which is perfect.
Oh yeah, look at all that.
So like I said before, this is basically, it's different from system to system, but basically, like I said before, it's a low point kind of in the engine. The water circulates all through here, it comes through here, it goes to the mixing elbow. That's something else you should check as well. Since we've always had really good flow of water coming out of our engine and stuff like that, it hasn't been sporadic and different and everything. I never thought it was much of a mixing elbow problem, because we didn't have any water coming out at all. So I thought it was either something clogged up the hosing, clogged up the intake for the seacock, clogged up the impeller, or, which I'm happy seeing this because this kind of, you know, solidifies it for me. But if all those things were fine and you still had the problem, then I'd for sure go to the mixing elbow, because it would probably be clogged up and everything. And I'm happy that I see all this, because this tells me that this was probably the problem 100%. So I'm gonna clean all this out, maybe see if I can get up inside that hole a little bit, clean it all out. But this pretty much lets me know that most likely something got caught somewhere in the lines or the impeller for like a little bit, and it wasn't allowing water to come in at all. This is really easy. Every engine has one of these. They're all different. It's pretty much called like your cooling water drain cock, and you're supposed to take it out. I think it's different from manual to manual, but every like 20 hours on the engine or something or whatever. Not very much, like once a week. If you're going out every day, you should be checking this like at least once a week.
Holy, that's really clogged up, eh?
Yeah, we should have checked this even before, but we've only been out a few times this year. But yeah, even myself, like I was saying before, like I got to get better at always checking this stuff and clean it out.
Well, and it was really weedy before when we first took our boat out. Would that be part of why it's so clogged up? Because
yeah, any weeds or like if it's a shallow bottom and you're throwing up, you know, debris, dirt, sand, anything, right? Like it'll get caught, which is good.
Look at all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm getting to the bottom now. But this is why you want to do that, because this was pretty much full. I let it get way worse than it should have. Like I said before, I didn't think it'd be that bad. We haven't been out that many times this year, but like Krystal mentioned, the times that we did go out, it was pretty disturbed. But yeah, as soon as that low point isn't there anymore and it gets to the top, then instead of debris, the heavier stuff than water, instead of it falling down into that low point, it's going through the rest of your engine, and like this little sandy gritty stuff, like it'll wear up your seals even faster, your pistons, your O-rings, and everything like that.
Should we rinse it out? That's a bunch of water.
It was definitely clogged.
There's a lot of... I heard something coming out of that.
That's why it stopped. Because it clogged.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Then that was our issue then.
Yeah. There. That's all. I only caught some of it. But it was really backed up. I'm going to have to be like, check this a lot more often.
We learned a lesson. We should be checking this more often, but at least we know now what actually was going on with it and that there wasn't like a really big problem that we couldn't fix. Good news.
And the good thing about having smaller hands sometimes is my pinky's like the perfect diameter. I can get like right up to there. It feels pretty clean now.
Feels nice and smooth.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Smooth like milk.
Smooth as milk.
That's an inside joke between me and Krystal, just so you guys know.
I think it's in one of the videos previously.
Is it?
Yeah.
Intake is good. I know that our impeller's good. I know all of our hosing is good. That's the thermostat. This is our mixing elbow. I know that our
is that actually the mixing elbow?
I don't know.
The exhaust?
I don't know. I gotta look more into. That's the reason why it's perfect to have a manual for every engine that you're working with.
This is our manual that we're
Mixing elbow here. Which no, it's back there. So that's mixing elbow. But yeah, so I'm just gonna take it off and make sure that where it connects in this pipe is somewhat, you know, clear. So I've never taken this off before, but I think it'll give me a better view of right where the drain cock is for like our water and stuff. So it'll give me a better view. It'll let me know for sure that this pipe is nice and clear so that our exhaust heat is getting vented properly. So you'll see me using a screwdriver, but that's just basically after I break the seal. I honestly don't even know why they have screwdriver options on these bolts. Like they'll just strip them. Like if you look over here to these ones, someone else has tried to tighten them or loosen them with a Phillips screwdriver and it is basically just ruined. Always make sure you're using a socket wrench. And you can see a little bit of grittiness on this bolt, which makes sense because that's where basically all the grit and stuff like that's gonna go right there. Yeah, it looks fine. It's a little dirty, but it's by no means clogged.
That's good.
If you look inside of it, it's just basically a venting system or exhaust. Yeah, if you're ever working on your boat, get used to only being able to turn a bolt or nut like 2 degrees. That's the amount of space you got. Alright, nice and tight.
Is it tight enough for you?
It's nice and tight. It's just a question of how tight I want to go.
Not too tight, you're gonna break stuff.
That's my middle name.
Too tight, Alex?
Yeah.
Alex likes his shit tight. But don't break it.
That wasn't a breaking sound, alright? Simmer down. You'd know if I broke it. Alright, I gotta take a little breather here. Stretch my legs out.
Yeah, right?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm like, my legs like up here. We're trying to video like the most awkward positions.
Another reason to start young when you're doing this stuff. I'm already dying.
We're not even old.
Yes.
It's like yoga poses. Like this is literally like, this is what we look like right now. Let's see if I can get a good view here.
I call this the frog.
I'm
I'm going to be able to jump so high after this.
This is what we have to do to get videos. Basically, we've opened up the seacock to let the water slowly run into the intake. And Alex is, what are you doing? You're moving the belts around?
Yeah, I made sure to open it like you said, and that'll kind of let the water rise up to like where the water level is on your boat.
Because we drained out all the water that was in all
Pretty
those
much,
hoses,
yeah. And then I'm just turning the belts over, which basically just turns the engine over a couple times, like very, very softly. So it's kind of distributing any water that we do get in there kind of around a little bit. It just helps big time because whenever we go and start it up, instead of if you didn't do this, the first few seconds you just have no water in the engine and you'd be waiting until it pulled from the intake all the way out through the engine. So this kind of just helps that process a little bit. So it'll be an easier startup. It's healthier for your engine, I would think anyway.
Especially after doing work on it and stuff, it's better to do it this way. Yeah, you can hear the water now. When Alex first started moving that around, you couldn't hear anything, and now you can actually hear the water kind of going through it, so.
And then you'll notice my hands are dirty, but like I'm not really, try not to touch the belts or the groove that the belts go into if you ever have any like dirty hands or oil or anything like that, and prevent it from slipping. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, just always check over everything you've done, open it up, see if, you know, there's any leaks popping out or stuff. There's not really any pressure in the engine right now, so like there probably wouldn't be, but if you do have a leak before the engine's on, it'll be a nice one whenever the engine is on. But no, I think we're good. Everything's all tightened up. Belt tension feels pretty good. They both feel pretty good. They should have a little bit of a give to them. They're not supposed to be super, super tight. Yeah, we're just gonna now wait for the motor to sit for a little bit, and then we're going to start it up and just make sure that everything went the way we thought it did, and make sure that... See if it explodes. Yeah, make sure that we're not getting any clogging or having any issues with water coming out as well. So, because even after Alex did it... Oh, don't. After Alex did what he did last time, like, it was better, but we knew we actually did have to do real maintenance on it. Even then, there's more maintenance to do. The maintenance is never ending. Never ending. No. Just take little bits of it at a time so it's not too daunting to you and stuff. And yeah, it takes, and that's, you know, it's more fun that way too. You can take some pride in it and everything, but yeah, slow baby steps and the maintenance never ends. And I mean, guys, we're brand new. We've never, ever worked on a sailboat motor or a diesel. The diesels to me are insanely brand new. Yeah. Like, so, like, if we can do it, you guys can do it. Because, and if I can do it, I'm not a motor person at all, but I'm not that I do much. Alex mostly does it, but I help. I help a lot of this stuff because it's nice to know. Like, with that problem we had out in the bay, just because I know like the bare basics, I knew exactly what to kind of look for and get in there and, you know, try to do a temporary fix. And sure enough, it saved us a tow that day. Yeah, 100%. My first instinct was like, should I call Jerry, the guy that owns the marina? I was like, should I call him for a tow? That was my first instinct was that. And I was just like, no, like, we can, let me play around with it first. I'm like, okay. Yeah. If you're ever in immediate danger, obviously make sure you call for a tow or get. But we were right in the bay, and the reason why I suggested that too is there was just a lot of boats coming in that day, and I was like, we were sitting there and floating around right in the middle and like kind of blocking everyone's kind of entrance. So we could have thrown our sails up, headed back out, figured things out. Yeah. But it was a stressful day. We were already on edge, and then all of that happened, and then so I was just instantly like, let's get a tow. Yeah. She's gonna start up. Need it. Beautiful. Just pump water like a whale. Are you ready? Yeah. All right. I need some soap. Oh. All right, we're ready. Ready to start up the motor. I'll just turn on the battery, and here we go. She's on. There's not a ton of water coming out. It won't be when it's idle. Okay. As long as it's spurting. Spurting? As long as it's what? As long as it's just spurting a little bit. We won't truly know until we like... It's going now, yeah. It wasn't there for a bit. I think it was, but not. Well, probably had to still build up water, right? That's why I wanted to do what we did. Get more water in it. No, that's perfect. That's even more water flow than it normally has when it's idle. Beautiful. Shall I shut it down? Yeah, shut her down. Choke her out. Give her the old choke slam. Oh, she is choked out. Choked out. I put the choke back in. Ah, it's tight. I can't do it. There we go. Yeah, I should probably lube it up a little bit. Yeah, you need some lube on there. I sprayed off the boat a little bit, and Dexter got a little wet. Look at your wet little head. You're so cute. We're gonna have a little evening boat wine,
and some music and some snacks and chill out because we fixed our motor and we're super proud.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. Got off early from work, so had some time to work on the boat. Worked out.
Wow, he didn't sip after the cheers.
Oh.
Cheers.
I also have to take an extra big sip on this one.